Hey, Trailblazers, it's Leah Rigetz. And in this episode, we're going to help you create your digital masterpiece with Meilani Wilder. Meilani, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. Why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience and let them know what you're all about.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Leah, for that beautiful introduction. As you said, my name is Meilani. I am the CEO, founder, and the chief designer here at The Wilder Shop. The Wilder Shop is a digital branding agency that aims to help businesses either establish or elevate themselves in the digital space. We do that through a plethora of services, as well as a newly launched digital download store that I will talk about later. But we meet businesses where they're at and take them to make their digital masterpiece.
That's awesome. So how did all of this get started for you?
To be honest, it started as a passion project. By trade, I am a web developer. I loved MySpace and doing like HTML back in the day. So I was that girl that my friends were coming to. They're like, hey, can you do this graphic for me? Hey, can you do this website? And eventually it just kind of snowballs into what is now the Wilder Shop, because maybe 2015, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And then I had a couple other, big health issues that prevented me from being able to work a traditional 9-to-5. And so at the time, my now husband and I were, at a point where we're like, we want to conceive a baby. We want to get married. We want to start our life. And I was finishing college and I'm just kind of like, what am I going to do? I know what I'm good at. I know what I like to do, and I know I love to help people, because that's just been my thing ever since I was honestly put on this earth. My job is to help others. And when I ended up falling into doing web development as a contractor, eventually I noticed that there was this disconnect with business owners that I was working with. A lot of them came to me for web development, but then they didn't have anything for social media. They knew nothing about digital branding. They knew nothing about analytics or SEO or any of that stuff that stuff that I'm like, okay, I gave you this beautiful website, but what are you going to do with it?
Yep.
And so that is what sparked the Wilder Shop. And eventually I filed the LLC in 2021, 11/12/21. I love saying that date because it was just so divinely protected. But it ended up becoming this beautiful agency that now helps a plethora of business owners. And we've helped with nonprofits starting from honestly nothing to where they are now, big newsletters and really reaching their target audience, really having their voice in this world and establishing themselves on the page. And honestly, it's like a lot of that time we did that for little to no money. And it was just because out of the kindness of our hearts that me and my team, we just are just that passionate about helping businesses establish themselves, make themselves look as professional as possible, and make it look like they got 5 million people behind them, and it can just be a team of one. So
that's awesome. That's so cool. So walk us through, how do you actually create a digital masterpiece for a brand?
Well, it depends on where the brand is. We honestly love to start where they're at. We don't want to overwhelm our business owners, because a lot of them come to us and they're, like I said, a team of one or maybe one or two other people that's kind of helping them here and there, and they don't know a whole lot. A lot of the times they come in the door, they need a website or they need a website rebrand. So we ask some of the hard-hitting questions, especially about their business. Like, what are your business goals? Are you trying to establish? What are you trying to reach and say to your audience? Because while a website is beautiful and it's absolutely necessary, and I'm going to say that to the cows come home, I don't care what anyone else says, you need to have a website, especially if you want to be a credible business in 2025. But you need to go beyond that. There needs to be more that you give the audience, because a pretty picture and a beautiful web page is going to fall flat on the page if there's nothing that's going to back it up. There's no authority. So we really get down to the nitty gritty and the meat and potatoes of the business owner, why they started, and start growing from there, building their brand, building their voice, building their messaging, and then expanding upon any type of platforms that they might find that is, beneficial to their business, because it all depends on their business goals. Because while it's beautiful to be on social media, not every social media is necessary. And a lot of businesses don't know that. Sometimes they're on 6-7 different social media scrambling, trying to put things together. And then we come in and we're like, your audience is only here on 1 or 2. Let's, minimize that, and let's get a clear focus so that we know what we're saying. Your audience knows that you're talking to them and they feel seen. So that is what we do. We come in, we just kind of blow it all apart. Like, all right, this is what you have. And these are the parts that we need to put it all together. And then we put in a streamlined process that is not overwhelming to the business owner and to the business, and that they can easily implement. And we walk them step by step, every step of the way. It's not just we're going to do it for you. Here it is. And we've implemented it. We make sure that they know every step of the way. This is why we're doing this. This is why this needs to move. This is what your competition is doing. So they completely understand.
Gotcha. So for our audience that is looking at, how to create their own digital masterpiece, what are those core elements that they need to get aligned?
Well, first, your digital presence. You need to do a self-audit off rip. Like, where are you on social media? How are you showing up? Where are you in Google? Because if you are not even on the first page results of your Google, if you are searching your business and your name, then you might as well just throw all of that out the window, because it's not going to be doing anything for your business. And that is something that a lot of business owners, completely miss and have no idea, because they have no idea how that algorithm plays. And of course, you see on social media, there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, the algorithm's doing this and the algorithm's doing that. But if you have a clear message, you have a clear path as to how you're getting there, you're going to beat past that algorithm, because your audience is going to stay locked in with you. So making sure that you know where you're already showing up, how your audience is already connecting with you, and where you want to go from there. And that is how it starts, with that brand voice, that brand messaging, and figuring out those brand platforms that are going to be best to setting up your platform, and making sure that you show up equally on those platforms. And when I say equally, I mean visually equally, because there's another thing that, a lot of business owners came to us. Like I said, they came to us for websites. A lot of them were using Canva, and they were like, oh yeah, I've got this beautiful design. And I love Canva. Canva is amazing, and it's a great tool. But the problem was they had no branding that went with it. They were just randomly putting pictures up. They were randomly putting colors. There was no rhyme or reason. And when you are thinking about how you're showing up, you want to think about that, because if you think about an Amazon, or you think about Google, their brand colors, their brand message. When they pop up and you see their logo, them. And that is how you need to train your audience. You need to get into that mindset of, how is my audience seeing me? How do I want them to see my business? And making sure you're consistently showing up across every platform as such.
So important. So what would be one of the common pitfalls or traps that people fall into when they're trying to do this?
Doing like everything and nothing at the same time with no strategy. And they're just throwing spaghetti to the wall, and there's just no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like a lot of times, and and I love, and when I will talk about Canva, because they make it super easy, especially for business owners that we help, because they have this thing. If you pay $12 for their pro, you can put all of your branding voice, your branding colors, your fonts, logo, graphics, anything that you consistently would be using to help build that brand message, it can all be right there. And something as simple as that, and just tweaking how you're showing up, can go such a long way. And oftentimes a lot of business owners fall into this pitfall of, well, let me just throw something up so then I can say I did it. Let me just say and, post something on social media for the sake of doing it. And they're doing themselves a disservice, because if you're just throwing it up and then you've had no consistency backing it up, your audience is just going to kind of just, if they even get the message, they're just going to be like, what am I supposed to do with this? It may just look like this really pretty flyer, but it means nothing if you have nothing backing it up. And that's often a thing that we see, because a lot of these business owners, they're starting with little to no money. And I get it, which is why I created the Thrifty Shop and why I created the Wilder Shop, because I wanted to show business owners that you have to, as frustrating as it can be as a business owner and an entrepreneur, because you want to jump to something else and squirrel and something pretty has caught your eye, you still have to stay the course, because your brand depends on you. Your business depends on you and how you show up. So you have to make sure that you are showing up with the best foot forward, and you're not just going any and everywhere.
That's awesome. So what are what's your proudest moments or biggest successes you've seen with your clients?
One of my proudest moments was, there's a music festival. We're actually still working with them right now. And I just happened to meet this woman at a club called Baker's in Detroit. It's actually the oldest jazz club ever. like a little known fact, Baker's in Detroit, Michigan. I believe it's like 1913. It's the first like ever jazz club. Like it's a whole thing. But she's a drummer. And I, knowing, to me, I'm a musician by, on the side. I play bass guitar, and I'm also a vocalist. So I was just like geeking because I was just like, oh, there's this female drummer. She's so cool. And she started talking about this festival that she was putting on that we had not heard anything about. And I'm like, for someone who has such pristine, like, and she has such, like, people know who she is, people know her father, how is this not bigger? So, I ended up approaching her very timidly because this was, a couple of years ago. And I'm like, do you have anything for social media or websites or anything? That's kind of what I do. And she's like, I have absolutely nothing. I've just been I have a GoFundMe. That's about it. And it was amazing to see that in these short 3 years that we've grown, how she has gone on different TV shows to, promote the festival. We've gotten some big names in terms of drummers because it's an all-female festival. So it's all female drummers, band leaders. It's a wonderful event, free to everyone. So we did great reaching our goal, making sure that we were getting the sponsorships that we needed. And all of that was just from the little old website that I started and from social media. And, that client also became a very close friend of mine. She's such a beautiful soul. Like I'm just so happy that we've continued this tradition. We're reaching new heights. There's more people that know about it. And it's grown. And that's probably one of my absolute favorite success stories.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, how are you currently connecting with and finding new business owners and solopreneurs to work with?
We have been on social media. I've been mainly, DMing in the comments, engaging, and LinkedIn. That's really where we've been seeing a lot of growth. But we also do have an external sales team that works with us to help us bring in some clients as well. Because while it's great, like I love being a solopreneur, you still do need a team behind you. And that was why, where I got to where I am now wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the small team that I had that kind of helps bring in the rest of it, because I knew this is what I need to do, but I needed all of the legs to kind of get there. So that has been a tremendous help, because before then it was just me, boots to the ground. Let's get in those DMs all the time. And then, it was a slower process, but now things have really picked up now that we've got a little small team dedicated to sales. And in addition to, engaging with business owners and really getting in those comments like, hey, I see some things that you might want to talk about. And it's usually just me just having a regular conversation, no sales pitch. I'm often on my personal page having conversations with business owners, no ties to the Wilder Shop whatsoever. And they're just like, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, yeah, let's talk further. And it just, just something very simple like, hey, had you even thought about this? Or maybe pointing out something that, they completely just missed. And it's just, the little bits always help.
That's awesome. So cool. So what are your next steps? Where do you want to grow from here?
I would love, outside of having, just the services that we provide, I would love to really start building my online community, because we've had a lot of success with our referral base that we've worked with, and even just, going in personal networking outside of because, like I said, I'm a full-time mom outside of this as well, and run my business from home. So, going to networking events are beautiful, but being able to really connect and go in online and really have a community of business owners is really where I want to grow the Wilder Shop, because I want to be able to help on a larger scale than what we've been doing. While it's great to have big businesses and things that we're working with, I want to be able to help the businesses that I started the Wilder Shop with. And a lot of times that was the businesses who had little to no money, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. Where do I start? Can you please help me? And I want to still be able to service that community. So that is where the Wilder Shop is going to be growing, is really going in on our private online community, growing those, build that community of business owners that are really trying to just get themselves off the ground, get themselves established, get themselves to the next step, so that they can hire big teams like us and be able to afford that price tag and not be hemorrhaging money because they're trying to stay afloat with their business and have this insane overhead. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, do you do many collaborations? And
I don't, but that is something I definitely want to get into.
Okay, because if you think about it, think about how many people like Digital Trailblazers, where we help coaches and solopreneurs and different things with their marketing. Do we but their thing isn't necessarily like your brand voice and all of picking your colors and doing all of the things. Like there's so many people that are serving your audience, people you could help.
Yeah.
But it doesn't conflict with their offer.
That is true.
So you can make really good relationships with those folks. And they can be referral partners. You can have an affiliate program. They can get a referral bonus every time that they refer a new client to you. And I think that would be an excellent way to reach more people.
I would love that. And I had kind of thought about that for 2026. Like my CFO, she had thought about like, cause we've been thinking about strategy for, the rest of this year, going into like Q3, Q4. Cause I really would love to cause that's why the online community has really been like this passion project is, this, and I'm so happy it's finally done. But because I wanted to be able to really just like have that community, that net, because like it's so important to be able to band together, because on that online community, I actually had a page I just created called a referral program, but I was like, I don't know what I wanted to do with it. Like I intuitively just made it because I was just, I was basing it off of other platforms that I've created for other brands. But personally, I was just like, how am I going to fit this in? You have that missing piece. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So if people want to check you out, where should they head?
thewildershop.com, and that's SHOPPE.com, because I am an old timey gal, and that's why I spelled it in the old timey shop.
I love that. And you've got a giveaway, a free gift for your audience, correct?
I do. And I'm going to, so there's 5 different things that are in this freebie. And normally this is something that I offer to our higher tier, like I said, this online community called the Thrifty Shop that we are creating. But here are the 5 pieces that are going to be in this freebie. It's a digital presence self-audit, the basic brand elements checklist, our wild methods. So this is how we teach all of our solopreneurs how to establish themselves on social media without doing too much of just sales or too much of just one content, and making sure there's a healthy mix. Our no BS guide to website auditing, and our SEO content mastery, which also has a keyword research tracker, so that you can figure out what your branding keywords are after you've already done this digital presence audit. Okay, this is where I'm showing up. This is how I'm showing up. Here are all the branding elements that I need to get everything going. This is how I can show up on social media, making sure your website is all in place and all those keywords, so you're showing up locally and globally for all of those audience members. So
wonderful. We'll have the links to all of that in the show notes and description. This has been a great conversation. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, share this with somebody who could benefit. And if you are curious about how to be featured on one of our podcasts, head to those show notes and apply. Have a blessed